Well, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation surrounding localization. We've talked about this so many times to the point of nausea. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we have to continue talking about it. And the reason why is because they hate that we do. They hate that we talk about it. They hate that we constantly make it a thing. And we have another example. So the Persona series English localizer apparently is flipping out over the recently fired Lovely Complex localizer that I just recently talked about for not bad work, but for basically proving us culture warrior weirdos right. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like that this person is basically complaining not off the fact that the guy got fired, but simply because that person who did get fired proved us, the people who talk about woke localizers, right. It made us look correct. It made us look like we are telling the truth because we are. We know that these localizers don't give a crap about the content that they write. We know that these localizers don't give a crap about the consumers who consume the content. They just want to input their own ideology into the story any way that they can because they know since they couldn't write the story that that's the only way that they can do it. So let's get into this article from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says, in further proving that the Western anime industry cares more about huffing up their own in-group image than actually doing their jobs properly, prominent public-facing Japanese to English localizer Katrina, I can't say that last name, has declared that, like many, she is unhappy with the recent revelation that a now former Lovely Complex dub writer intentionally butchered the anime's entire narrative for ideological reasons. But unlike the masses, her issue lies not with the blatant disrespect to the original work, but the fact that the entire situation has given validation to the many criticisms of culture warrior weirdos, aka regular anime fans. Now, when they talk about culture warrior weirdos, you know that they're talking about us, ladies and gentlemen. They're talking about the Bigot Army. They're talking about the 199 over at Geeks and Gamers. They're talking about the Fellowship over at Nerdrotic. They're talking about those groups of people because they hate us. They do not like us. They do not like the fact that we constantly have the spotlight on them. They can't get any rest. They can't literally rest their eyes at all because they know that there's going to be hundreds of more videos coming out over the next couple of days talking about how trash they are, and they don't like it. So the fact that she's mad, not because this guy didn't respect the source material. No. She's not mad about that because she definitely disrespects the source material every chance she gets. What she's mad about is that this guy gave validation to our arguments. This guy gave validation to our cause. And you know what? That's nobody's fault but his own and your own. It says, as previously reported, following his publishing of a lengthy manifesto in which he bragged about how he definitely hated the series and went out of his way to alter its entire narrative from changing character personalities to turning a feminine male into a transgender woman, Discotek fired Lovely Complex localizer Brendan Jello Apocalypse Blabber from their roster of an in-house translators. Now, again, I didn't make this clear in my last video when I was talking about Blabber, so let's make it clear now, ladies and gentlemen. Discotek only fired Lovely Complex localizer Brendan Jello Apocalypse Blabber because he blabbed. That's the only reason why, ladies and gentlemen. They're not mad at what he did to the source material. They actually actively advocated. They advocate for this stuff. They don't care. They want to change the source material. They want to push activism. They want to insert identity politics into every story they touch. They didn't fire him because he did that. They fired him because he didn't shut up. He opened his mouth and made it very clear to everybody who's watching that that's what they do. They don't want to look bad, ladies and gentlemen. Discotek as a company does not want to look bad in the public eye. They don't want people picking up on the stuff that they're doing. So they fired him because this guy wouldn't shut the hell up. This guy clearly took it upon himself to expose these companies for what they are truly like. It says, frankly, having the dub come out this good in the end is a little frustrating, bragged Blabber in the Patreon post, which led to his firing. Anybody who watched this show as a kid and has fond memories of it, revisits the dub, will think, wow, it's just as good as I remembered. No, it isn't. We made it good. This show sucked. Imagine, like, I can't even imagine having that level of narcissism. Like, you have to have an insane level of narcissism to look at this show and literally say, oh, this show sucked. We made it better. These are the same kind of people that are writing for Rings of Power who said they're going to write a book that Tolkien never wrote. They have that level of narcissism. They think that they're the most amazing writers, the most amazing storytellers, all because they made a couple of characters gay or trans. That's the only reason why they think they're such amazing story writers. It's pathetic. It really is. Somebody like this should not have a job in localization. They just shouldn't. They should just be sticking to what they do. The guy has a YouTube channel with a lot of followers. Stick to that. Don't be a localizer and ruin what people love. Nobody cares that you hated the show. You're not translating the show for people who hated the show. You're translating the show for people who love the show, who love the manga. That's what you're translating for. So who cares if you hated the show? Do your fucking job and do it the right way. Otherwise, get out. You have no reason to be here. This is why we need to gatekeep these hobbies away from these psychopaths, because if we don't, they will interject themselves continuously into the same things that you loved prior. Now they're going to interject themselves into things you love now in the hopes that you can get away from what you lost prior, and now you can't because these psychopaths want to ruin this too. It says, however, rather than condemn Blabber for his absolute failure to properly do his job, who many remember for either her work as a localization coordinator on the recent current-gen ports of Atlas Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden, or for proudly boasting about how she ran roughshod over High Dive's English subtitles for My Life as an Inokai-san's Dog, instead chose to chastise himself for giving ammo to the culture war weirdos who regularly chastise her industry's ideological graffiti. Taking to Twitter on February 12th to share her opinion on the matter, the localizer began, "Do I know it's in my best interest to not say anything about this bullshit? Yes. Is anything I write only going to be taken the wrong way by culture war weirdos? Obviously. So I'll say this, you aren't going to love everything you work on, but it's your job to do justice to the work and its audience and remain professional about it all." Wow, so there is something in that crazy multicolored hair brain of yours. There is something called a brain there. Wow, I didn't think you were actually capable of being able to do it, Katrina, but apparently you were able to. I guess you must have had an epiphany for literally 2 minutes before activism took over. And says, and for fuck's sake, she added, don't shit where you eat. You've heard a lot of careers today. Oh, well. Sucks for you, doesn't it? If you would just focus on doing your job like you just told this guy to focus on, maybe you wouldn't have to be so scared for your job after this guy exposing you for what you really are. It says, further proving that she cared only about the realities of her industry being made public and not the fact that her peers as a whole have lost the plot when it comes to their jobs. Katrina then lamented, every time you give the culture war weirdos fuel, you make things worse for the people they harass. Not only are you out of a job, said the localizer, but you've given them a brand new reason to send us death threats. Ladies and gentlemen, stop with the death threat nonsense. Most of the death threats you get are from trolls on Twitter. Yes, that's obviously not cool. Yes, there's people out there that are crazy, but the majority of people coming after you are not giving you death threats. We are simply telling you that you suck at your fucking job. We are telling you that you are ideologically driven and it's very obvious. We are telling you that this guy is just one in a dime of a dozen of people like these guys who Katrina is trying to protect right now. Katrina is trying to protect the industry that she currently knows protects her and her ideology. She says, it's so tiring, man. She continued, I just want to share my passion for translation theory and localization philosophy. Instead, I've got to stay quiet, pretend nothing affects me or that I don't care. Don't fight back, don't look, just smile and take it. You know what? There's one way that you could actively not be in this position that you're in, and that's called doing your job and taking your bullshit localization philosophy and passion for translation theory. Just do translation and localization. That's all you have to do. Keep your theory, keep your philosophy out of the fucking translation. Nobody cares about it. Nobody wants it. Just do your job. The same way you told this guy to do your job, just do your job, and maybe you wouldn't be scared for your job in the first place. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.